about you. Hey all and welcome. Thank you for joining Ulsterman in Texas episode 2. And today I'll be discussing something that's kind of a sensitive topic for most Northern Irish people, and that is national identity. What are we? Who are we? And why does it matter? So, as I said last week, I emigrated here to North Texas, about 90 miles north of Dallas, in 2011. In that time, I've come to think about my national identity in a different way than I maybe would have before. So, I am actually from a unionist background. I believe that Northern Ireland should be a part of the United Kingdom. And a lot of people in a unionist background, not all, but some, would deny any form of Irishness at all, but they're not Irish. And I used to kind of have that mindset and that attitude, but not anymore. And I think coming here and talking to people and whatever, when I say I'm from Northern Ireland, the word Northern doesn't come into it with the other person. I'm just Irish. But at the same time, I have a very strong sense of Britishness too. I'm actually pretty much a dual citizen of the United States and the United Kingdom. So I'm I became a United States citizen in 2018, December 21st, 2018 to be precise, and that was one of the proudest moments of my life. To me, the United States is probably the greatest country on the world right now, for all of its problems and all of its division and whatever. I still think it is the most diverse. It is the most welcoming. It is the most influential as well, of course. But you've got this very diverse nation here, and I think it's wonderful. I love the diversity of the United States, and I have no problem calling myself an American. But I'm still British, and that Britishness has been part of my family for since forever, really. I my ancestors came from Scotland to Ireland back in the early 1600s, and we would be a Presbyterian faith. Although I attend a non-denominational church now, my family would be from Presbyterian backgrounds. I first came to faith in a Presbyterian church and spent a lot of time in the Presbyterian church, but that's a very big part of our culture. As I touched upon last week, evangelical Christianity is a part of the Northern Irish, particularly the Ulster Scots culture, although that is dwindling like it is in the rest of the world, but there's still a very strong Christian element in that. And that may be very different from someone like England or someone in Wales or Scotland. The evangelical Christianity isn't really as big there. But I still feel very, very British, and I still, a few days ago was Christmas, and I did watch the Queen's Christmas message, for instance, and that's something that really gives me that link to my Britishness, and it was a very good message. I think she nailed it. She did make a little there when she said that the star led the shepherds to the stable. That's not actually biblically the case, but she did a very good job on the Queen's on her Christmas message this year in a very trying time. But yeah, I still feel very, very much British. But does that take away from my Irishness? Although I never held an Irish passport, I wouldn't consider myself a citizen of the Republic of Ireland. I think it doesn't. As I said, I was a member of the Presbyterian Church. Well, the Presbyterian Church is the Presbyterian Church in Ireland. It's an all Ireland body. Even the Orange Order, which I'm also a member of, is the Loyal Orange Institution of Ireland in the Irish jurisdiction. I support the Ireland rugby team and cricket team. Although I do support the Northern Ireland football team, soccer team. And if Northern Ireland had a rugby team and a cricket team, I would probably support them. But in sports where there is an all Ireland team, I do tend to support the Ireland team. I would however support the effort that some are making in boxing in Northern Ireland to break away from the Irish to form a Northern Ireland boxing body. But at the same time, the Irishness that I have isn't like a nationalistic Irishness. I went to school in a town called Downpatrick. The clue is in the name. It has a very strong link to St. Patrick. The first church in Ireland, which is the one he founded, is Saul. It's just outside Downpatrick. It is where he is reputedly buried in the grounds of Down Cathedral. Yet he's the patron saint of all Ireland and of all Irishmen. St. Patrick's someone I really, really look up to, and you know, that's not a denial of my Britishness. The cross of St. Patrick is on the Union flag. My Britishness and my Irishness are hand in hand. They're not pulling opposite. And it's like those who signed the Ulster Covenant. They were Irishmen. The ones who went over the top in the Somme went over the top as Irishmen. But the Irishness that they have looks very different to what a lot of people would consider Irishness. You know, what people would consider Irishness today is a very nationalistic, a very Republican form of Irishness. But there's another form of Irishness, and that's, even as a unionist, something that I can be proud of. After all, Erin go Bragh was a unionist slogan. There's pictures of a great unionist rally in 1905 with Erin go Bragh on it, Ireland Forever, at a unionist rally. Now, I do agree that partition is a very sensitive issue. As I say, I believe Northern Ireland should remain part of the United Kingdom. I think even with Brexit and so on, I think that Northern Ireland is better placed as part of the United Kingdom. You know, United Kingdom are part of the the G8. They're part of the, you know, they're part of a lot of good things, a Commonwealth. And I think membership of those puts Northern Ireland at a great advantage. But yeah, so I'm British. And let's face it, I feel British as much as I feel American as well. And I think that's actually the greater conflict, the conflict between the American side and the British side rather than the British side and the Irish side, because, you know, I live in the US, I voted in the most recent election. Didn't go quite as I'd wanted it to, but it went a bit better than I thought it would in another way. The Republicans held the House, but looks like we lost the presidency. Or we did better in the House, we didn't take it. We did better in the presidential election than we thought we would. And we held the Senate. Or it looks like we're going to hold the Senate. Hopefully, if Georgia, the two Senate races there go well, hopefully at least one of the two will go the way of the Republican Party. But that's my bigger conflict. There's the whole Tebbit test, as I talked about in cricket. If a Pakistani, the true test of the loyalty is who they cheer for in cricket. If they're still cheering for Pakistan, are they going to cheer for England? Well, if Northern Ireland played the USA in the World Cup, I don't know, I'd be torn. But for me, that is an internal conflict that I have, of my loyalty to Britain and my loyalty to America. Luckily, though, the both nations are very strong allies, and that's a good thing. Hopefully, that continues. But at the same time, I do feel very American as well. As I say, I didn't really want to go political, but I just did. I do feel very American in some ways. I feel like, in some ways, I should have been born this side of the Atlantic. My views are more, and always have been. I've always been more American than British in a way. I think that, and maybe that's Northern Ireland too. We are a bit more socially conservative and that than the rest of the UK, and I touched on that in my last video. But we have, but I feel very welcome in the US. I almost, and the funny thing is, the most welcome I've ever been was waiting in line to vote in the Republican primary, here in Fallon County in Texas, and I was one of the first to vote, but I was talking to people, and it was a very, very welcoming experience. Would you believe, standing in line to vote? And I think most people here in Texas, want to, most conservatives, a lot of people talk about immigration and whatever, and how conservatives, Republicans are anti-immigrant. That's not the case. But what they do want is people who are willing to integrate. They're, people, especially around here, they're very proud of the country, and quite rightly so. Absolutely rightly so. But they want people to come here to share that pride, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I do share that pride. This is a country that put the man on the moon. This is a country that, has done so much. That has done so much for the world in general. We've, let's say, put a man on the moon. First place to, aircrafts. First powered flight was in the US. A lot of just technological advances. Microsoft and Apple, American companies. So all that innovation, all that thing, all those come from America, and that's a really, really massive thing. And for such a young country, too, and I know there's the argument, well, the natives and so on, and I get it. The natives, some awful things happen to the natives. I live very close to the state line with Oklahoma, and the Trail of Tears, and a lot of the stuff that happened during the westward expansion to the Native Americans was unquestionably horrible. But at the same time, for a lot of places in less than 200 years, we've got from nothing to cities of metropolitan areas of over 1 million people in a very short space of time, historically, and even sometimes under 100 years. And, I live not far from Dallas. I live quite close, about 2 hours, an hour from Dallas, an hour and a half from Fort Worth, 2.5 hours from Oklahoma City. And those are relatively young cities, that came up from virtually nothing. I was in Nashville 2008, and there's a replica of the original fort in Ashboro, and it wouldn't be much bigger than the street I grew up on. So I'm, utterly proud to be an American, but at the same time, proud to be British. I'm proud to, we gave the world soccer, the English language, a lot of things too that are British. Penicillin, a lot of the great medical advantages of the 19th and 18th century came from British physicians. And when you have all that together, the Irishness, the Britishness, and the American, I'm proud to be all three. Now, I may not be as vocal about my Irishness as I am about my Americanism and my Americanness and my Britishness, but all three, and Northern Irishness as well, probably more than even Britishness or Irishness, is something that I'm immensely proud of. It's something that I really consider myself very blessed to be able to hold all those identities as one, because it's part of my personal story and it's part of my personal journey. I didn't know when I logged on to that Christian chat room and I met my wife that I'd be here now as a US citizen, extolling the virtues of America, but also extolling the virtues of my Irishness and my Britishness, and I'm very humbled by that, and I don't hold those in conflict as much as maybe I should. I hold them in harmony, and I hold them in a different way. I hold them in a great place of respect. Well, that's all I have for this week. I hope you've had a great week. It's a 20-minute, nearly an 18-minute long video, so hopefully you've been able to cope with my rambling about this subject. And thanks for watching. If this is your first time or if this is your second time, thank you for tuning in. Hope you, if you enjoyed it, I hope you like and subscribe. I'm hoping to do a video every Sunday. Last week, hopefully I'll be doing them kind of earlier in the morning before I head out to church. This week I was preaching, so I didn't really have time to do it this morning. But thanks for watching, and have a great week.